Welcome to Inspiring Journeys, where we have conversations with everyday people on their journey through life, their ups and downs, their accomplishments, and where they are today. This is Shanta Mani, your host, and we have some really interesting folks. And today we're going to meet with Nanette Brédé. But before we start that, let me just give you an introduction of Hi, Nanette. Welcome. Welcome to today's show of Inspiring Life's Journeys. What a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you, Shanta. It is such a treat to be with you today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Nanette Brédé is a difference maker in the world. Just a little bit about her. Following her successful retirement from a U.S. Army as a strategic planner and program manager, Nanette continues to serve as a servant leader, volunteering thousands of hours to the veteran community, focusing on career transition, spouse employment, and national and state legislative issues, helping our military veterans and their families. Nanette is an award winning volunteer. Most recently, she's been selected as the 2020 El Paso County, Colorado Veteran of the Year as the nation's second largest veterans community. She's got so much more, and we're going to hear all about it. So thank you. Thank you, Nanette, and thank you for serving our country and for all that you've done.
You're quite welcome, Shanta. It was my pleasure, and serving our nation was an absolute honor and thrill. That was
Sure
not what I planned to do as a kiddo by any means, but that's how life led me.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go back. Let's go back to your childhood, what it was like, where you grew up, and then also what led you to the service. So let's talk a little bit about that. So many interesting things that you had in your childhood memory.
My dad was a defense contractor, and so we moved around a lot in the Midwest, and it was a very patriotic time at those points in my life. And it just, small communities with good values, and that was important to me. One of the things I did was I got involved in broadcasting very early on. My girlfriend, as a sophomore in high school, right between sophomore and junior years, twisted my arm into going to summer school. And she said, it's theater. We're going to be doing theater in summer school. And I went, all right, that sounds fun. That's more fun than chemistry that I had to take the next year,
Yeah.
And so it wasn't theater. It was at the TV station that the public school system owned, but was run by the high school and high school students. So I ended up in broadcasting. At the end of the summer school session, they said, Nanette, would you be a producer director for our TV station? And I went, well, sure. Okay. And that's how I got hooked. From there, I got a scholarship in college in broadcasting and was in public broadcasting for a while, then regular TV or radio, and ended up in sales, which was not my forte, even though I was selling air, as we called it.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my clients that I would work with were, because I was selling for an acid rock radio station. Now, is that a good fit for me or not? Not really.
Yeah.
Anyway, some of my clients or customers were the military recruiters. And that's where I got introduced to the military. And I went, I like their morals and values. I like what I hear. Let's do that rather than try and make a go of it in broadcast sales. So the rest, as they say, is history. I liked what I was doing in the military. I loved working with people. I came in with 3 goals, or 3 things I really wanted to do in life. Was number 1, make a difference. Number two, manage people.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, oh my gosh, brain cramp, was just to have responsibility was number three, none of which I was doing in the broadcast scenario or in that setting. So make a difference, have responsibility, and manage and work with people. Well, be careful what you ask for.
I know.
After my training in the military, my first job, I was responsible for 200 people and $8 billion worth of ammunition for the US government.
What a start.
What an amazing start.
Yeah. Going back to your broadcasting, how that got you into, what a way to lead that into, right? So do you have any anecdotes or any favorite memory of your childhood years as a broadcaster for your school?
There's a couple.
Okay.
You know how we can do TV and broadcasting off of this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, our broadcast van was a donated bread truck.
Oh.
Bread delivery truck that we painted, put the logo on the side. The TV cameras were probably weighed 200 pounds a piece. They were this big. The videotape that we used was this wide. It was state of the art, donated from old TV stations in the area, and unheard of and unprecedented at that point in time. And it was just an amazing thing. One of my greatest memories was I was on camera. They talked me into that one at one point, and I interviewed John Glenn early on in his congressional career.
Awesome.
He never directly answered a question I asked.
That must have been it.
That's a politician for you. You know?
Yeah, that's a good way to get around it. But what an experience for somebody who's so young in school. And going back to the bread truck, what a great marketing. Was that kind of, did it stay in one place? But
No, I actually have a picture of us broadcasting from the gymnasium during a basketball game.
How fun.
We took it out to a NASCAR race at one time. We did football games with that thing. I mean, we were on the road with that, broadcasting live from different locations, or, all the time. We were never at home. So it was pretty cool technology for the days.
True. And great opportunity. Great reason for your friend to, get you involved in that, because I'm sure you both must have had fun doing it.
Well, we actually, at the end of the high school summer school session, did do a live production of Little Women. So they did their theater piece at the TV station.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. And a great segue to how you came into your military career. Now, I know you mentioned about how you made, you first entered into it with the 200 people that you had to manage. What led you from step by step? How did you climb up the ladder there? I know you retired with some amazing laurels to your name and where you were at that point. So tell me a little bit about your journey and how that impacted your life now.
It comes down to doing what's right for your people, for the mission, and for yourself, and keeping your nose out of trouble, and doing the studies and work and getting the jobs necessary for promotion. Okay. Getting the experiences under your belt, and just taking care of business, doing it right. And that's really how I ran my life in the military. And I mean, that's it. It doesn't sound sexy, but it was getting the right jobs. And as I look back, my career was a textbook munitions officer. My specialty in the Army was ammunition. No, so I ended up with a career in broadcasting, right? With a degree in broadcasting, and the military, in its infinite wisdom, the Army, let's put me into bullets, ammunition management. So I went, and there was no way out of that for 10 years. You had to have 10 years experience there before they would even consider transferring you. Well, at that time, I'd become really good at planning and managing ammunition for corps level organizations, huge, 50,000 people. And I learned more about not just ammunition, but how to do logistics planning, how to make sure they had food, fuel, munitions, everything we needed in a theater of operation, as we call it, in a location to fight a war. I mean, that's really what it was all about, is making sure our guys and gals on the front line had the right bullets in the right place at the right time to engage the enemy. And I know that sounds very military, but then that's my background.
Yeah, but that's an important piece of it, right? And it's so a lot of planning on that, making sure the right thing goes, like you said, to the right people.
Yeah.
And that's a big responsibility there that you had right from the beginning for your 10 years. Now, from that, what did it lead you to after those time?
So because I found I enjoyed the logistics planning, I stuck with it for 20 years. Different places around the world, different places around the nation, teaching it, training it, writing exercise scenarios to train other people on how to do logistics, to include training the general officers in my commands where I worked. I worked for them, but I trained them in how to make decisions on making sure they had what they needed to fight the war.
Great.
I did a tremendous amount of writing, writing war plans, just all sorts of things like that. Ended up moving to Colorado Springs and could not find a job in logistics, ended up in operations for NORAD, which is North American Aero Defense Command. And you may have heard the term Cheyenne Mountain.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where it's located. And I worked in their operations center for a while. And one day the boss looked around and said, Nanette, we have a special project we want you to work on. Basically, I was the only person in a green uniform amongst a sea of all these Air Force guys. And they said, you speak Army, we need you to work on this project. So I ended up in a program, a project rather, doing missile defense. So, total change. And again, I was doing planning and project management, and we were writing doctrine and policy for this program, just lots of stuff like that.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. Now I know the military probably, or the Army probably took you around the world in so many places. Where are some of the interesting places that you've been placed in?
I think the place I enjoyed the most was Germany. I was there for 4 years, not all in the same place. And because Europe is much smaller than we expect it to be, it's almost like a country is the size of one of our states. It was easy enough to get around. And I was able to travel to Denmark and France and just Spain, Italy, just get around and see quite a bit of Europe, and it was
Yeah.
fabulous. And Germany itself at the time was still very conservative. Women
Mhm.
did not wear pants at the time. They were still just in skirts. Nobody did anything but spend Sundays with the family. There was no shops were open, no movies. There was nothing to do except spend time with the family. So, as a way to get out and about, a friend and I would go what we called Volksmarching, walking. And we would do 10 or 20 kilometers in one location. And these were orchestrated walks where you would get a medal or a
Mm.
mug or something as you paid for it, obviously.
Yeah, an incentive to walk.
Exactly. We saw Germany in and out, and I mean, we were probably doing 20 to 40 kilometers a weekend because we'd do it on Saturday, go back, repack, and head out again on Sunday. And it was a great way to see old castles and a beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful country.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's that's the beauty of Europe, right? You can go to run to so many different countries.
Oh, I
Everything is
know.
so close by there. Yeah.
It
Um,
was fun.
yeah, awesome. That's great. That's great. That great you had the opportunity to go to all those places through
Yes.
the military. I know you did a lot of traveling as well.
I
But going on to your later years, just before, say about probably about 5 to 10 years before you retired, I know you were in a position where you served a lot of people in different ways. But tell me what it was like, and towards the end of your career with the military.
Well, the project that the general officer picked me for ended up lasting about 9 years, which is very unusual. At that point, I was a military reservist, an Army reservist, which meant I had come back onto active duty after 9/11 and stayed on active duty until I retired. And this project let me travel all over the United States and working on air and missile defense integration for NORAD and US Northcom. Um, so it was a pretty big project with lots of responsibility. That the cool thing is, as a result, we are a safer nation from missile defense from our enemies, as well as air defense. So those are two different weapon systems. And I was responsible for standing those systems up in many forms to make sure that they were integrated into the right technology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I did a lot of traveling and a lot of coordination. We were doing Zoom calls before Zoom was even a twinkle in anybody's eyes.
Wow. You probably people didn't think that it's going to come this way, right? To where we are using it in every day, but that was a great place for where you all started. To big great way to communicate with everybody there.
Well, it was. And we would,
Mhm.
I mean, I literally had teams around the nation that were working with me on this project. And we would get together once or twice a day, literally via Zoom. And I remember at one point in time, so I was in charge of all this. So I sat at the head of the table and I could see all my guys and I could see everybody on the camera, except the ones that were hiding behind the cameras at their end. And they would come up to me when we were meeting in person and say, "Oh, Nanette, it's so nice to see you." And I go, "Oh, so you were behind the camera."
Yeah, we have some of those, right, who don't want to be on camera. So, but that's all part of it.
It is exactly right. Exactly.
Nanette, you've had such an illustrious career in the army. Um, Many people don't know about all about what you accomplished. So, thank you. This is a great way to share your military background. But what was your title what were you in the army when you retired?
I retired as a colonel, Shanta.
Wow. What an accomplishment.
Thank
When I first met you, no idea at what you had done, and it was such a great way to get to know you and learning more about your life now. So that's pretty amazing. As to congratulations on your accomplishments of everything that you did in the army.
thank
But
you.
post retirement, I know you've been very involved in the veteran community.
I fortunately had a military retirement and did not need a second job. And so I decided I would volunteer, and rather than dilute my time and energies, would focus on one market, so to speak. And I decided that was going to be assisting veterans. Even before I retired, I was elected onto the board of directors for the National Military Officer Association of America. And I spent 6 years doing that. It was a part-time gig, obviously, but
Mhm.
it's pretty heady stuff when you are elected by 390,000 of your closest friends.
Wow. What an honor that must have been. Yeah. Mhm.
That organization's focus is to legislate with Congress for the benefits for active duty, retired military widows, and family members, and to make sure that Congress honors their promises to our military. Whether you're an officer, enlisted, it doesn't matter. It's all about making sure Congress and the VA get it right, and the Department of Defense keep their promises. So I felt that I needed to carry on that tradition, and have been working on the side, not as dedicated as a lot of people, but keeping my finger on the pulse of that, so that um, our legislators know that it is important
Mhm.
that they continue to support our military as we are supporting our nation and protecting our nation's defense. So I'm involved in lots of programs here in the Colorado Springs area, which I know you read in the introduction that we were the second largest. Well, we're now the first largest
Congratulations.
voting district for Congress. So it's pretty amazing stuff.
So now you're involved also in the Veterans Voice.
The Veterans Voice. So let me tell you about a program that I've been working with, or an organization. It's called Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center, and no, it's not a one of a kind anymore. It's a three of a kind. They have opened a new office in Pueblo, and are working to build one out in Trinidad, Colorado as well. What it is I would call it one-stop shopping for military active duty, as well as veterans and their families, for assistance for veterans. We have a division that works with behavioral health, um, family care, where if you're homeless or you need food, there is a program there that assists. And my passion has been helping transitioning veterans and that department. And so about 10 years ago, I stood up a program called Prep Connect 360. It was a week-long class for transitioning veterans and military spouses about how to find a job. It was more about helping you find your passion, to answer the question, what's next? What am I going to do now that I have had to hang up the uniform? And what am I going to do with all my skills that I have? And what are my passions? Then we would work very hard on how to do the interviews,
Mm-hmm.
bringing in up to 40 or 50 volunteers every time we taught the class, from the employer community here in Colorado Springs and Denver, to work with our veterans to help them practice those interview skills. The other important skill that we taught was how to network, because 80 to 90% of all jobs are found through networking. And so we felt that that was a critical piece. And so a friend of mine, Mark Littlevision, who's retired Air Force colonel, and I put together this program, and we taught it for 10 years. By the time we rolled up the carpet in November, we had taught over 900
Wow.
folks, military, on how to become better citizens of their community. Because the goal was to help them be productive members of the community, not having their hand out. So not sitting on the curb like the Vietnam veterans. And
Mhm.
900 people is pretty good number.
Very good. Yeah, very good number. And you've made a difference. I think one of your goals that you said when you first joined the military was to make a difference in people's lives, and you're continuing to do that. You did that with the 900 people that went through your program. You're continuing to do that with all your volunteers work that you do. And what I'm going to put the Veterans Voice show. This is the way you all can get for you listeners. If you want to go ahead and watch the Veterans Voice US show that Nanette is part of there. That's a great show. I've listened to some of the episodes there, and you bring in people from all walks of life that can help the veterans. And that's an amazing thing that you're doing right there.
Thank you. After we closed the door on Prep Connect 360, one of the folks, the producer director for the Veterans Voice, reached out to me. It is a subset of Mount Carmel, and he said, "I'd like you to be a host once a week. Once a month on our Veterans Voice program, which is a combination of a broadcast and a podcast." And I went, "Well, that takes me back to my roots, obviously."
Mhm.
And so he didn't get it quite right. I'm now doing it twice a month, but that's okay. It is a lot of fun meeting people, and we're trying to find the right people to answer the questions and issues that our veterans and their family members have. Coming up in April, we will be talking about suicide prevention. And one of our guest speakers is Dwayne France, and he is now working nationally at state levels to help put programs in place across the United States to help decrease that number of suicides, veteran suicides, which, by the way, the magic number that I really hate to say is 22 veteran suicides a day is
Oh,
what is
no.
happening
Mhm.
nationwide. And that's what we're trying to get our arms around, along with the VA and a number of other programs. UCCS is working at it, Mount Carmel. I mean, there are thousands of people trying to get their arms around stopping this. And it's pretty hard to do here in Colorado Springs, as we rank like number one in the nation for not just veteran suicides, but suicides. So it's a big deal here in town that we need to stop.
It is. It is, I think. And it's just to bring awareness that there's some place that they can go to and support that they can have. And that's the important thing, and being able to talk about it, right? So reaching folks who need it, but a kind of step back and not coming up with it. But that's a great area of support. Now, are you looking for people, just more people listeners? Are you looking for people to be on the shows? What are the roles that you would like people to connect with you on the Veterans Voice?
I think the most important thing is to spread the word about Veterans Voice. If you have a podcast location and would like to link us to that, so that we can leverage your followers and you can leverage our followers, that would be a great thing. Even more importantly, if you have a friend or neighbor or a family member that is a veteran, please pass on the address below, down there, veteransvoice.us. That's www.veteransvoice.us. Please have them join us. It doesn't matter whether they're in Colorado Springs or Timbuktu or Hope, North Dakota. It doesn't matter. The information that we're passing on is valid and important for you. We have been introducing it and interviewing people from the VA. We had Casey Eberhardt, my mentor, on recently, and he was talking about how to market your small business. We had people talking about financing small businesses. I mean, lots of things that you can leverage in your life as you transition as a veteran, as well as if you've been out, regardless of era and regardless of when you served. We have information that is valid for you. Thank you for that. And I am just absolutely honored and thrilled to be a host on that program from time to time.
Gosh, yeah. Going to continue making a difference in people's lives there. Yeah. I'm just going to wrap it up with a few general kind of questions for you, Nanette. Um, you know that travel is my favorite thing to do as well. And in all your places that you've gone to some of the places that you've traveled to personally, not on the job or in the military. Is there one story that sticks out on your mind in all the places that you've been, whether it be Hawaii, Alaska? I know you even lived in Bolivia. You've been so many places. What can you share with us?
You know, boy, you caught me off guard with that one. I think the place that I enjoyed the most because of the vivid colors was actually the Isle of Capri off of Italy.
Cool.
I when I traveled, because I was single for most of my travels, I would hook up with somebody else on the bus, somebody else on the plane, and we would link up together. And so I always made friends as we were traveling around. We did that in Spain and Denmark and Italy and places around Europe. Um, I remember coming back from Bolivia. I was about 18, and we had a layover in Panama at night, and we had to go through customs. And we got to the customs guys, and he opened up my backpack and stuff, and he started taking my clothes out. And he said, "So what you doing tonight, chickie?" And I went, "I'm escorting this group of kids up to the United States." And he said, "Well, why don't you stop by my place tonight, chickie?" And I went, "No, I don't think so."
Just an everyday conversation with them, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Thank you. By the skin of my teeth, got out of there, I think, unscathed.
That can be a daunting thing for an 18-year-old when you got to go through that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure his bosses had no idea he was trying to pick people up. But, to be able to see, okay, so right before I retired from the military, I took a trip to Africa. I'd always wanted to go on a photo safari, and hooked up with my girlfriend, who is an avid big game hunter. And I happened to mention, "Oh, I'd like to go on a photo safari." Well, she remembered that conversation, darn her. And we ended up on a safari in Africa. We were at a resort or a ranch, and we were each assigned our own professional hunter. Mine took me to take pictures of large animals, and hers took her out hunting. We were both highly successful. I came back with 1,000 pictures. So lots of zebras and giraffes and elephants and lions and tigers. I pet a cheetah. I saw a baby rhinoceros. I mean, just all sorts of amazing animals, and visited a koi farm. I mean, even the people at the ranch didn't know this koi farm existed, but that was fascinating because I had a koi pond at home, and to see how they bred them was cool. Just, I think that was probably the most outstanding trip I ever took.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Life's a journey, right? And travel is part of it. And those memories can't be taken away. You may forget some of the other things, but some of those memories are so vivid in your mind, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Nanette, if people want to reach out to you, I'm going to put your email down there. But let's just wrap it up with what are the fun things you do outside of your veterans life and your all the volunteering that you're so busy with? What do you like to do?
I train my dog. Right as COVID started, I adopted a dog, and I just have a need to keep giving, and so felt that it was pretty important that I train her on how to be a therapy dog, because then
Mhm.
I could integrate my passions with with so let's see if we can get this up here.
Oh, there's Disney.
There's
Yeah, we
this.
can see her. Yeah.
So that's at the broadcast studio, and check this out. Here she is with the microphone
Oh,
interface.
wow. It's adorable.
So she is a certified therapy dog as well as a certified canine good citizen dog,
Mhm.
and she has over 10 different certifications that gave me a lot to focus on while we were in the middle of COVID, and we did a lot of puppy training via Zoom. And the thing that really surprised me is when we met our trainer in person for the first time, she was wearing a mask, of course. We walked into the PetSmart where the class was being held, and Disney immediately recognized her just from her eyes and
Wow.
from being able to see her on Zoom. I was absolutely floored, but she is a sweetheart. She is now the official mascot for Veterans Voice. That was new this past week. And
Awesome.
so I don't know where that's going to take us, but we'll see. So I'm kind of combining my interests of working with veterans with working with dogs. And that's what I do to stay out of trouble.
Oh, that's awesome. And Disney's a real smart little cookie. She I've seen your videos about how you've tried to, find things, and she's so smart. I'm sure she'll bring so much of joy to all the people that she comes in contact with. So
You
thank
know,
you for doing that.
and that's the goal of the whole thing is
Hmm.
to let her make a difference. We go to Lowe's a lot because it's close and we can spend 15 minutes there, and the employees hug on her. The people that the shoppers hug on her, whether they're 3 years old or 93 years old. That dog wants to meet and greet and let them pet her. And I think it just diffuses and makes their day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for doing that and bringing all the joy to through her and through you to
You.
all the veterans and everybody you come in contact with.
Thanks
So,
so much.
yeah, thank you. So, one last time, could you just give us the veterans voice again?
So it's easy. It's www.veterans plural voice.us. It's veteransvoice.us.
There we go. Okay. And if people need to get in touch with you, please connect with Nanette at her email that's scrolling down there. And if you'd like to spread the word about the Veterans Voice US, or even just connect with with Nanette if you want. She's open to being on podcasts and sharing her story, and also just if you need any support at all with anything that she's doing, she's a great resource. And thank you, Nanette. Thank you so much for not only for your service, but all that you're doing now and continuing to make a difference in people's life. Appreciate all your support.
Shanta, it has been an absolute pleasure. And as you had said a minute or two ago, travel and broadening your world is just an incredible way to, as I said, broaden your world, understand people in a different environment, and appreciate our heritage in many, many cases. So
Yeah.
I know travel is important to you because obviously inspiring life journeys, and that's what that's about. So sometimes it's good to break out of your shell and go do something different.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And Shanta, it has been an absolute pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for reaching out to me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time. And let's connect with Nanette through her email as well as listen to the veteransvoice.us podcast and show. Bye,
Thanks.
Nanette. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Shanta.